I say to Ken, here's the deal. I'm going to switch over and I'm going to punch this a little bit and see what we come up with. I think it was my second or third cast. I get that tick on the line and I set the hook like a bitch. Of course, I didn't have my cameras on this one day like an absolute degenerate, because this hook set was like the hook set of all hook sets. It was like Greek God fucking hook set. Ridiculous. And of course, you know, I'm throwing on 20-pound fluoro, and this fish gets wrapped around some weeds, so I'm just keeping that tension on him. I get him out of the weeds. We get him in here, and I caught the winning in the big bass contest 15.75 inch largemouth. I won the big bass contest by about 3 inches. Before we jump back into this week's show, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, we'd love to have you become a bigger part of the Jigs and Bigs community. Join our Jig Heads on Patreon for exclusive live recordings, bonus content, and behind-the-scenes access to the show. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow Jigs and Bigs on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and wherever you spend your time scrolling. Looking to support the show? Grab some merch. Check out our online tournament trail and visit jigsandbigs.com, where you'll also find all of our trusted partner links to save you money on gear that we actually use and believe in. Have a question, a hot take, or just a fishing story? Call or text us on the Jigs and Bigs hotline at 413-324-8519. We might just feature you on an upcoming episode. And if you enjoy the show, the biggest favor you can do for us is to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever it is that you listen. It really helps more anglers discover Jigs and Bigs. Now, let's get back to the show.
One more cast, one more shot. Oh. Before the sun, before the crowd, we earn every fish, we earn it loud. No excuses, no backing down. When the bite gets tough, we stand our ground. Jigs and Bigs, hookset, hold on, send it. First light, all day, no quit. Jigs and Bigs. Who wants one more? We do. Who wants the giant? We do. Who's making memories? We do. Who's making excuses? Not you. Jigs and Bigs. One more cast. Jigs and Bigs. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. Another episode number 335 of Jigs and Bigs. What an unbelievable, what a wild ride the last week has been. It really has. Before we dive in, we have a lot of really great stuff we're going to be talking about in this week's show that you're not going to want to miss out on. Probably, I'm going to get through, I think, probably some of the stuff that got you guys to this show first and foremost. But this episode here focuses big time on community. We're in just the tip. We are talking about really how every angler has something that they could potentially offer you for education. Basically, like every angler kind of knows something you might be totally missing or just have no idea about. The other thing we're going to talk about is, you know, we're going to touch on this in a Broken the Boat. And back when I was in a kayak, like all the time, I used to hear oh, hey, how come you don't just buy a boat? Why don't you buy a boat? You know, the thing is with fishing vessels is it's not one size fits all. It really is not. There's a lot of options. We're going to talk about like why the boat that you've selected is probably the best one for you. And our jig heads, we have a bunch of jig heads that are in the chat right now jumping in here. We've got Eli in the house. We've got Todd Sefton in the house. Guys, start thinking about the way that you fish and why it's ideal. And I want to throw this question out there early before we dive in. If, you know, your boat was just exchanged for, let's say, you know, slightly more than you even paid for it, would you get into the exact same thing? Think about that. We're going to be talking about that in Broken the Boat. It's going to be so good. We have some stuff to talk about. Obviously, Hoodlumfest was this past weekend, and we'll touch on some production stuff in a moment. But, man, what a wild weekend. And with Hoodlumfest, this time around, we tried to do something to get folks involved, and that was, we did a charity tournament for BCRF. Breast cancer is a huge situation that affects a lot of the folks that we're close to and a lot of our friends. And it's one of these things where anytime we have an opportunity to raise some money, BCRF really does do a great job of turning that money into productive research and stuff. Among those charities, they are repeatedly like one of the best, one of the ones that keeps getting brought up over and over and over again. So we're glad to put that together. But starting things off, I do want to say we raised in total, with partnership money that came in from some area local businesses and from everybody who entered, we entered $520 donation, which is absolutely awesome. Really, really good. $520 donation, which is great. And you guys are absolutely awesome. So later this week, we'll be conducting the raffle for the prizes. We're going to touch on some of the unofficial rules or the unofficial standings. That'll be coming up later in the show. But, Hoodlumfest locally went down, and it was crazy. I'll talk about a lot of that in the week in review. But, man, we have an awesome show for you guys. One thing I do want to mention, you're going to notice it in this show. I was talking with Binya about the tournament stuff, and we've got the Texas Duo League that's live now for our online tournament series. All that stuff's available for you to check out over at jigsandbigs.com. But our online tournament series, we have this duo trail where it's a team trail, and we started out with one large region in the U.S. and in August we decided to launch the Texas region. So the entire state of Texas is in play. And you guys showed up. Texas, you showed up because it's going down over there. But California's coming soon. And with that, the rest of the country will be live by next year. So with that means that our tournament segment's going to get more and more in depth with lots of other stuff. So we're going to take that information. We're going to migrate it over to both social media accounts for Jigs and Bigs and for Binya Outdoors. He's going to be posting some information, keeping the weekly standings up. And we're going to be having Binya on once a month after the Derbs conclude to get like final standings and really take a deep dive in the whole month. So that should be pretty crazy. Good stuff. It really is going to be a fantastic show. We got another jig head in the house, one and only. We got Dean Martin with us. He says, Bobby, the bling is crazy and I love it. I should talk about this, guys. Our jig heads are seeing the video portion of this right now, and they're watching me wear this crazy thick chain around my neck with this amazing iced out largemouth bass right there. And maybe you guys probably haven't seen this either, this trophy. Oh, you didn't see that? No? Oh. Spoiler alert, I did okay on one of the days, but we're going to dive into the details right now. We're going to dive into my entire week, and part of that week was an amazing throwdown with Hoodlumfest, and I do mean throwdown. It was ridiculous. It was crazy. So let's dive in. What kind of fishy shit was your boy BRB up to? Well, we'll start with last Saturday. Last Saturday was a big one. I should mention that we have Maddie from Swimbait, or from Boston Anglers in the house. He was involved heavily with organizing the Swimbait Farmers Market that went down, and we do have a wrap up coming with him with some information, how the event played out. Is there going to be another event? I mean, it was a really great turnout, but I attended last Saturday. Joe was there. He had a table for AVF tackle experts, which was absolutely awesome. I go in and it was over at Tackle Box Brewing in Marlborough, Mass. And I hadn't ever been there before, but I've heard really good things about it. It's a great little setup. I almost brought the boat too, because I was going to fish afterwards. I'm so glad that I didn't, because it was packed. I mean, it was packed. I'm talking butt to nut. It was ridiculous. I think I went in and there were probably 200 people in there when I got there at like about just after noon, and doors opened at noon. Upon walking in, I was talking with some folks, and like there was a group of dudes that came out from the Midwest. I want to say they were from Wisconsin. They were there at like 9 p.m. the night before. Like, this was absolutely nuts. What I primarily did there was, along with Dean, he was I will tell you, Dean was one of the most One of the people that stuck out, though, wasn't an exhibitor there, because he's walking around with a full on production studio walking around. And we talked to probably about 80 to maybe 90% of the vendors that were there. And Dean, dude, you absolutely hammered it. He sent me essentially a terabyte of video, and I'm going through it now, actually, as we speak. I'm going through all the clips and everything, and there's just little bits with some folks that were selling their wares and others who were just but looking to make a small investment. I walked away with a couple of goodies. It was pretty good. I did pick up a chipmunk wake bait from John Customs. That was a gift for my wife. And then I got a couple of soft swim baits from Hatch Match. This is a company that's based out in Michigan. And let me tell you, I'm really excited about throwing some of these. These are silicone soft plastic swim baits. A 4 and a 5 inch is what I picked up. Dude, he showed me some video footage of the baits underwater, and I thought this was in a pool. No, this is how clear the water is that Hatch Match fishes. Like, it's ridiculous. And then I believe it was Gift Glides had hooked me up with a lipless wake, which I had never seen a lipless wake before, and it's pretty sick. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that there. But I didn't have nearly the amount of time that I was hoping to shop because I was on a time crunch. So I did a quick lap around, got all of this good footage, man. I'm really stoked to get it out to all of you guys so that you can see it. But Dean, I want to thank you again, man. Excellent job. Right now, I've got the interview segments kind of like all set and the skeleton kind of in order. I just have to make it fancy. I gotta make it nice. You know what I'm saying? And some cool transitions and good B-roll and everything, and it's all there. So we'll be working on that as time goes on, and that'll be on the Jigs and Bigs YouTube channel for you guys. Now, Saturday evening was a little bit interesting. So I get home in mid-afternoon. I take out the dogs and get them all set up, and I had contacted Paul, and I was like, listen, man, I really want to go out to this one reservoir. And I'm kind of glad that we didn't now, because I wanted to go to sort of get like a real good, like, close to Hoodlumfest as I could idea on if we were going to fish there, and we never ended up touching it. So I'm kind of glad that we didn't, but we had a very limited amount of time, Paul and I, and the decision got made that it was probably better if we just hit the Connecticut River like we normally do. Dudes, on a Saturday night, let me just tell you, I am never doing that again. The boat ramp getting out of there was an absolute shit show. It was crazy. So Paul and I send it. We get out there, and it was the same area that I had fished. It was like, I think it was the day before, in fact, actually, on the Friday. The water was way lower, though, like significantly lower and crazy dirty. And Paul caught one on, I think, like a 3-inch paddle tail. And, he was getting bit, but they weren't really like committing to anything really at all. Lots of bites, but like no real identifiable patterns. Paul also had a blow up on a topwater frog. And, that would have been the only action right there. So by the time all that had happened, like the sun starts going down and we head back, and dude, the launch was just a total mess. I think there were a dozen or so jet skis around the launch, and a whole crowd of people hanging out on the dock. Like, they weren't even like loading up to get in or get out or anything. Like, it was ridiculous. I ended up pulling my boat up on the ramp, had Paul back out, and then there's, just crazy traffic. It was a mess. So needless to say, I'm looking for like alternatives when I want to fish the river on a Saturday for loading in and out. It might be worth paying that ungodly amount of money at that marina we complained about before, but I don't know, man. It's a bit much. Something tells me that they're going to blame tariffs and they're going to have increased their rate as well. So I don't know if I'm going to eat that or not. But there was something fucking stupid that happened on Saturday night. So I get back to the house and I'm getting my stuff together. My plan was to go out and fish on Sunday, and I did. But I'm getting things together. I'm putting gear away in my boat. And since I've had my boat, I have stepped over the tongue of my trailer a million times in a million different like scenarios. Like, it's just ridiculous. Didn't even think about it. Now, I've been parking in the street because, like I said, we're doing a little remodel on the house. Right now we're purging a bunch of stuff. So we have a dumpster in the driveway. So my boat is parked in the street, hooked up on my truck. Everything is good. Don't worry. It's all good. I go to walk to the other side. Now, Paul is parked on the street a little bit further behind me. And as I step over the tongue, my foot hits the tongue and I topple over so fast that like it was just, I was upright. And next thing I know, I'm looking up and I'm on the pavement. I don't know how on earth I managed to put my hands up and catch myself on the pavement because my nose was almost on the blacktop. And I'm telling you, had I not put my hands up to block my fall, I would have 100% broken all the teeth in the front of my face. How hard I went down. It was ridiculous. Now, I'm down 50-ish pounds, and I can't imagine that happening back at that weight. I can't imagine that. So, like, thank goodness. On top of that, I also had my my fishing gloves on, and they happened to keep my hands. And I was wearing a long sleeve hoodie, and that I didn't scrape anything up except my knees. That's it. I just messed up my knees, and I'm thinking this is gonna be bad tomorrow morning. Like I'm getting to an age, guys, where. You know, it's been almost a decade now where, you know, if something happens, I'm like, oh, that's going to hurt. You know, that's going to be real bad in the morning. And it usually is. I don't know how I got so lucky this time. I genuinely don't understand how I got so lucky. So I picked myself up. Paul was in his car, windows up, AC maxed. And he didn't see me fall, but he gets out of the car and goes, hey, dude, did you fall? And I was like, yeah. I talked to him the next day. He only knew about it because he heard me yell fuck at the top of my lungs through the window, through the AC cranking. He managed to hear me yell fuck. So, I mean, all good. I got in, you know, I had dinner, I did all this other stuff, and I had a few things I wanted to work on. I think I was actually editing the podcast and uploading it that night too. And I had, dude, I got wrecked. I had my wife said take 4 ibuprofen before bed. Take another 4 upstairs as soon as you wake up with a bottle of water next to you and take them. She's like, because that's going to hurt. When I tell you this, Jigs and Bigs Nation, your boy, BRB, was on his boat at 7 o'clock in the morning. I cannot believe that. I woke up and I was like, you know what? I'm like, yeah, I can still feel like where I'm, you know, it's still like where I scraped up one of my knees pretty bad. Like I can still feel that, but nothing like I was thinking I was going to be hobbling around or immobile or anything like that. I can't believe it. So I got very lucky. I did go out and buy a $20 scratch ticket. I lost on that because I just wanted to know if my luck had run out, and
it did.
So that was Saturday. Sunday, I went and I fished a spot that I just kind of want to put a little bit more practice in with toying around my electronics. So I went to a really small spot. Actually, Dean, I went where you and I had gone. And I launched the boat and I was cruising around looking for some stuff that was out kind of deep. You know, I'm trying to put the effort into like learning how to fish offshore a little bit more, how to find them when they're deep. And I'm finding that really the challenge isn't catching them. Like if I find them, you know, and I can identify them and I'm like, yes, they're here. Catching them isn't really so much the difficult thing. It's learning what is really juicy and what's not. That's been the biggest learning curve. And I mean, when we do the upgrade to the new electronics, it's definitely going to streamline that a little bit more. And I see where there will certainly be benefits, even like mapping stuff in advance before I get on the water. That might help streamline the entire process. I found nothing up deep. I ended up fishing the entire bank, like around. Did I take a skunk that day? Let's see. The water was actually pretty high there. Oh, no. This is kind of nuts. So I remember how this went down. Scanned the entire lake offshore. Didn't find shit that looked like it had any real juice, like the occasional stump or brush pile, but nothing that seemed like it was holding any fish whatsoever. I fished a couple of them to like no avail. I shifted to like shoreline grass, and not even just the edges, like in it. I initially started with like a big rat wake bait. With the watercolor, I had switched up my color presentation to a couple of different things that worked out. And I busted out something I haven't used in a while called the TCR rig, the Tiny Child Rig. And what that is I basically, I picked up some 1/0 EWG hooks. And what I do is I just take a Senko in whatever color, and I just cut a piece that's like about 3 inches or so and make it so it's like nice and even. And you Texas rig that as you would. And then on the bottom of that bait, I put a screw lock, like a Nico weight on there, just a light one, like a 16th ounce. And what's nice is it stands perfectly upright and you can bounce it really well on the bottom. It also casts like a goddamn mile because the weight is all the way in the back, so it's not pulling anything behind it. So you cast it out there, it stays exactly that way, and it's ridiculous. So I had that on. I had a couple of taps here and there on it, but nothing. No real commitment whatsoever. Called it on Sunday. Didn't get back out until we had stuff going on both Monday and Tuesday, and we had a lot of rain come in. So as far as like purging of the house stuff, we had to kind of tiptoe around that. Wednesday, though, was my day out with my wife, and she's like, all right, let's go ahead. Let's send it. It'll be a good time, you know? I have been, after the interview with Kai last week, I had kind of been on the idea of like, why don't we get that crappie pin off of our back? We'll do that. And he did suggest a spot where I could go. And unfortunately, I had gone out there and, my wife and I, what we do like normal, we stop and we grab coffee. So we don't get on the water as early as we get up. Like we'll get up and handle the responsibilities around the house, but it's a very lazy and chill way of getting out on the water. So we stop off at a spot for coffee in Sturbridge called Sawdust Coffee House. And dude, it was fantastic. I got this like blueberry like crumble latte that was out of this world. We take a ride out to the spot that we're going to. Again, we're looking for like just big crappie, looking to have fun, looking to just, chuck and wind, see what we can put together. We get to the lake, we launch, and then I don't know, for some reason, Holly, and I'm really kind of impressed with her for this, but for some reason, she opted to just Google the lake and look into it. And as it would turn out, that lake was closed 20 hours previous due to, cyanobacteria. And we didn't see any signs initially, but as it would turn out, I had forgotten to grab the remote for my trolling motor. So we had to go back to the truck anyway. And the sign was just posted on the weirdest thing. But even more fucked up was that there was like an official state vehicle there and like a dude walking around. Now, I don't know what he was doing there. If he was, emptying trash barrels or something like that. I don't know. But there was a dude there. He saw the boat, didn't say anything to us. And there were two other trucks with boat trailers that were in there. And I'm like, what the hell would they be doing parked here if they're not out on the water? I don't know. It was just kind of crazy. So I don't know, man. It kind of sucks. I was like, that blows. So we got off the water and, in that time that had passed from when we had launched, we were on the boat. My wife had mentioned that she had to be back here at about 3:00 for her nursing visits gig, visiting nurses gig. She goes, to see patients and stuff. And so I said, okay, no problem. That's fine. I was like, I do have a backup. We can try this out. And the backup lake actually had a sewage spill that freaked her out. And she's like, you know what? No, it's not going to happen. I was like, all right, cool. Almost pulled the plug on doing a send a little bit closer to home to help buy some time. But I'm like, by the time we get there, we're going to get out on the water for like 2 hours. I go, you know what? Let's just go home. We'll have lunch. We'll do this. We got a couple things done. It was great. Didn't fish on Thursday. I did get out on, I take that back. I did fish on Thursday for a brief minute. I had done a bunch of running around, got stuff together for Hoodlumfest, and I had gone to I got a call from Wild Bill. I got a text from him. And I was like, yeah, is there any plan for tonight? Because I knew some folks were going to be up on Thursday evening. Like, so what's the deal? And he goes, he's like, I'm hearing that Jimmy Murtha, Jimmy Goes Fishing, and Cody, Lockwood Fishing, maybe heading up to a spot near you. When he said near me, it was very near to me. He goes, they might do a little fishing there. I don't know. And then we're going to get food afterwards. I was like, okay, well, if there's a gathering, let's do it. I'm game. So if they're in town, let's go ahead and do it. And as it would turn out, Chris and Sarah Pendergast were in town as well for Hoodlumfest. Awesome. So I had dropped an invite I created a group chat, and I dropped an invite for anybody who was around and wanted to join us to come and meet us there. Now, I just launched. I had actually beat Bill there. I had just launched. I get a text from Chris and Sarah, and at first they weren't going to make it up. And then they were like, you know what? They're like, Bobby, do you have room on your boat? Like, could we jump on with you? I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm solo. I offered it to Bill, but Bill wanted to be in his kayak and get prepped for the
heavy competition
that was to take place on Friday and Saturday. So I get it, let him do his thing. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I go back to launch, and I waited about 20 minutes for them. They show up, get in the boat. It was great seeing them. I haven't seen Chris and Sarah in I want to say it's been 3 years. Maybe. I want to say it was 23 was the last time I saw them. Like, it has been a hot minute. And they are among all the hoodlums, they are among the greatest people. Let me just start and say that. Among the best. I'm happier now that I know them all, and we've shared experiences over the last handful of years on the podcast, and also just adjacent to the content and everything. Like, just very, very cool. So we got on the boat, got all caught up. We fished for a little bit. I think they each put a smallie in the boat. I took a skunk that day, and then Cody hits me with this. So Jimmy and Cody come over, and Cody says, he's like, so what's all this I'm hearing about the pizza in the Northeast? Like, we got to go get some pizza, man. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, myself. Oh, no, because the Pendergast had their trailer too. So 1 trailer, 2, 3. There were 4 trailers that need to be parked. And I was like, Cody, dude, quality pizza I can deliver. But quality pizza that has parking for 4 boat trailers, I don't know that I can exactly deliver. And I'm just saying, it might just be one of those things. So, we go and we do our thing, and I settled on a spot that was adjacent to like a small strip mall type area, so there was plenty of parking, and that thing is closed. Like, it's not open at the hour we were at. So I'm like, okay, cool, we'll be able to park there with no problem. We're not going to be in anybody's way. We get there, we had a great meal, had a bunch of laughs. It was awesome. Your boy got home, went to bed, got up bright and early on Friday morning. Now, the weather on Friday, it was like this on Thursday as well, but it was hot, muggy, and pretty calm. Like, very, very little wind. When we launched at the lake, water temps were like low to mid 80s. And when I say it was calm, it was so still. I hardly used my battery except for when I was graphing, when I was looking for some structure. And that'll come into play in a moment. So, there was also a notice that had gone out that the body of water that we were on that day, the vegetation was getting nuked. Now, I thought it had been nuked previously before because it looked like shit. I did not know how shitty it could actually get. So when we got there, it didn't take long. Areas that were relatively lush with grass had a bunch of just dead vegetation that had kind of like fallen over and just kind of like, or it was just barren and looked like the moon. It was just ridiculous. We did see some quality bass in real shallow water, but they would not cooperate. In fact, we ended up trying to circle back and monotonize and capitalize on that, but we'll talk about that in a bit. We abandoned that shallow bite pretty quickly, and then we did some scanning. Now, I had Ken, Underwater Robberies, on my boat with me that day, and actually on both days, as it would turn out. I was supposed to have Joe, the bearded angler, on my boat on Saturday. That didn't pan out. He has some health issues going on. We hope everything gets, is on the up and up for you there, Joe. But he will be joining me for Ascend soon. So Kenny and we send it. I tell him, I was like, so this is what I've been doing lately. I go, we're going to scan around. We're going to see what we can come up with. Now, I'd been having some electrical issues with the absolute terrible job of installing my own electronics that I had done. I had fixed those on Thursday. That was one of the things I had done. So this was like rock solid, stable. And we're cruising around. There's a couple of things that I had found in this one deep area in like 30 feet of water. So I go over and I down scan over it. And I'm like, okay, that looks juicy, my friend. That just looks like it's screaming for a drop shot. I make a cast with my drop shot, and I was just drop shotting like a Berkeley flatworm. And it ended up being like the primary producer. And I think I put, what did I put in that day? Was it like a 15 and a half? I think it was a 15 and a half that first day. And I was like, okay, all right, so we're on the board. And this was like about maybe 7:30, quarter of 8, something like that. Yeah, well, let me take a quick look at this, at my entries. Yeah, no, it was a 15 and 3/4. Oh, no, I take that back. Nope, it wasn't. What was that first? No, it was a 15 and a half, that first fish. It was a good, healthy fish too. And when I was like, this thing's coming up out of like this deep of water, I'm like, I hopefully don't have an issue releasing him, because I don't have anything with me to fizz him. And he swam off great. No problem at all. In fact, he was pulling some drag, and I think that helped, because he didn't get like, yeeted right up from the bottom of the lake into the boat. I think that might have helped him stabilize a little bit. But so yeah, that was good. I was like, okay, cool, we're on the board. Ken was feeling good about this. We kept that tactic going for a little bit, and dude, it just didn't produce the fish that we needed. The other two that I had put in were, let's see, I had caught an 8-incher, and I caught a 12 and a half. I caught an 11 and a 10. And that's all I put in for bass that day. I had a couple of bycatches like bluegill and stuff like that, but they were all primarily on that drop shot. And it was just shake that worm, drag it a little bit, shake that worm, drag it a little bit. If they weren't, and what I would do is I just cut it off and, reel it back in and go to the next spot and just try to move on, because if they weren't going to eat, I was like, we got to find ones that are going to cooperate. We did get, I believe Ken got on a fish that day. It was a grind. It was a real grind. I think he caught all of his, oddly enough, on a Texas rigged ribbon tail worm, if I'm not mistaken. And so we had gone back to the original spot up north, because we're like, okay, it's been hours, and it was brutal. The heat was ridiculous. It was insane. It had been hours. We get back, and the place where we initially fished, we're still seeing bigs. Same situation. I ended up deciding to call it at 2:00. Most of the anglers were already off the water because the heat was that bad. It was really bad. I had 64 ounces of water, one of those with an element in there. While I was there, I had a few Diet Cokes. Like, I was hydrated. And I started my day with 32 ounces of water on the drive in. So like, I was good, but I'm telling you, like, you could feel it. It was beating you down. And we decided that what we would do is call it and then get right out. And of course, there was a little controversy with that. Some folks were like, "Oh, we can't get to the Airbnb until this time or whatever. We're going to fish till whatever." I was like, "That's fine." And I made the decision. I was like, "Just don't enter any fish." So it's all good. I should say that when we set up this tournament for the localized Hoodlumfest event of this group of 20 people, when we did this, we did it with the intention of there not being any rules, as this was like a formal thing. So there were things that got let slide here because we wanted to keep this as like friendly as possible, but also encourage some of the shit talk and things like that. It was really good. So that concluded the fishing for day 2. We went out to a bar, day 1. We went out to a bar that night to grab drinks and food. And I gotta admit, I fucked up this one, man. 100%. We went to this bar, and there's a couple that are on that lake, and we went to the wrong one. Is what it was. We went to the wrong one. it was the one I suggested, and I said, oh, yeah, they've got this going on. I know a dude. It'll be cool. We'll check it out. How bad could it be?
It was bad.
It was real bad. We should have gone to the other place. We should have gone to the other place right next to where we launched, actually. But we took a break in between so everybody could freshen up. Because when I tell you guys it was hot, it was 99 degrees when I called it. It got a little bit hotter in the day as things went on. So it was a little bit crazy. We head out. We have some drinks. We have some good laughs. It was a lot of fun. You guys might see, the jig heads that are watching this, the hat that I'm wearing right now. This Hookset Hoodlums hat is not available yet. I don't know if it's going to come. I don't know if this is just a two of a kind because I have one and Jimmy Goes Fishing has one. So we're twinsies. And this is awesome. I think this is such a clean looking hat. Good stuff. So we call it a night, come home. But one of the things we talked about while we were out at that bar before we called it was, what the shit do we want to do it the next day? Because the very initial plan in this was to be out fishing 2 different bodies of water. And that was our entire intention from the get. We decided to send it to another lake. I would, of course, everybody asked me, like, oh, what should we do? What should the plan be? Should we, what other bodies of water are there? And I know, it would be great if there was like, oh, you've
never heard of Unicorn Lake?
Where there's no wreck boats and there's, it's only 20-inch smallmouth and, that just isn't a reality and around here, it's just not. So we decide, they make a call. And I one of the places I suggested it to, one of the things that I suggested was, Congamon Jr. And I made that suggestion because I think the idea, day 1 was a best of 3 contest. Day 2 was biggest bass only. So I made that suggestion and I told everybody, I said, I think it would be hilarious to go through and show how, there are bigs in there. I've caught them. 2 years in a row, I've caught big fish there. But man, they're going to make you work for it. 100%. They're hard to find. So I go, let's see what happens. So they all opt. They're like, yeah, let's do that. And I said, on top of that, it's also really close to where we're having the party, and I think this will be good because we can all send it there and, it'll be a little bit more seamless. It'll be good. We get out on the water and same thing. We meet up at the same time and we launch. Some folks decided to sleep in a little bit and get out there a little bit later. This, like I said, this is really casual. So, Ken and I get in my boat again, all right? And I caught nearly 24 fish, maybe even a little bit more, and the vast majority of them were dink smallmouth, giant bluegill, and the occasional slime dart. But there was one. And I should mention what they primarily ate was a megabass griffin micro crank. I started, and I was just like, I'm just going to go through fish. I just need to get the most bites I possibly can and just process through them. I think the first fish I caught was like 8 inches or 11 inches or something like that. It was small. It wasn't big enough for the slot. That's for sure. So, and that's the other thing about our local tournament. I intentionally didn't set a minimum. So like, I'll go through some of these numbers in a bit and you'll see how small some of these bags are. And that's why, on day 1, I caught a 4-inch largemouth and I popped that sucker up. I might even put that on the cover art here. I might, I don't know. I really want to put Matt on from, Boston Anglers, but I don't know that 4-inch largemouth is a fucking cutie. Maybe it might make him famous. So we go out and I'm primarily throwing, real downside stuff just to maximize as many bites as possible. And I think it was the rattles. I really do. I think once I switched to something that had like a nice, like a high pitched rattle sound like that griffin, I think they just couldn't get enough of it. And I was just pulling them out of everywhere. Now I did have a small micro jig, that Yudama, that I was throwing into stuff with like heavier cover because I don't want to lose that griffin. I only had one and it's like a mortgage payment. So I was throwing that and that was getting bit with no issues at all. So it worked out good. So if it looked fishy, like we were catching them, Ken caught a number of them. I mean, we're making it happen. So at one point, Ken suggests hitting. This place has a few small areas that have some pads. You know, it's nothing where I would be like, oh, you like frog fishing? Go here. But I'm like, okay, all right, we'll go ahead and we'll do that. So what we do is we start motoring over. And as we get there, I pull off of this one patch of pads. And I go, I'm gonna not only throw this frog, but I'm going to switch out this jig and I'm going to put on a heavier weight and do some punching, because these pads look pretty heavy, like pretty thick. Like there's areas where they overlap, and I had a 3/4 ounce tungsten weight, and I would pitch this out. And if it hit right in the center of a pad that had support on either way, it would hold it up there. It was ridiculous. I was like, that's nuts. So I had to actually pitch a little bit higher and get them to punch through. But it was like the third cast. So I fished this entire patch with a frog, not so much as a blow up, nothing. I was like, all right, it just looks too fishy to me. It just looks too fishy. So I say, here's the deal, guys. I say to Ken, here's the deal. I'm going to switch over and I'm going to punch this a little bit and see what we come up with. I think it was my second or third cast. I get that tick on the line and I set the hook like a bitch. Of course, I didn't have my cameras on this one day like an absolute degenerate, because this hook set was like the hook set of all hook sets. It was like Greek God fucking hook set. Ridiculous. And of course, you know, I'm throwing on 20-pound fluoro, and this fish gets wrapped around some weeds, so I'm just keeping that tension on him. I get him out of the weeds. We get him in here, and I caught the winning in the big bass contest 15.75 inch largemouth. I won the big bass contest by about 3 inches, which is insane. Fishing was tough enough, and part of the group eventually had surrendered like around lunch to grab some beers and fill up with some food. So they were off the water. I had messaged the remaining anglers and was like, hey, what do you guys want to do? Most ground it out for a little while before everybody headed to the Hoodlumfest party in the early afternoon. It was just absolutely nuts. But I do want to tell you, so I mentioned I put together this group chat, right? Everybody's texting back and forth, and me, this asshole, submits this video from the water. Guys, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to do this. I'm so sorry, guys. Yeah, just apologizing for submitting that giant. So let's go over the numbers. We'll go over the numbers, the whole thing. These are official from the local Hoodlumfest event. And these are, we'll take a look first at the best of three. I'm going to go through everybody who entered fish, okay? So Eric Graves. Eric submitted the smallest fish entered, which was 6.5 inches. Eric, gravy fishing. You shook that monkey off your back, and that's what matters. Gravy. That's what matters. Big jump up here. It's a 3-inch jump. Kenny, underwater robberies. 9.5 inch. He submits. Nice job. We take another jump upward, and we go into another 3-inch jump, actually. 12.5 inches. Kevin Mahoney. Biohazard Bassin making it happen. Joel Melendez, Brutus 17, 13.25. Now it's getting a little bit closer. We jump into the first multiple fish bag. Sarah Pendergast, 24.75 inches. Wild Bill Fishing, 27 inches. That's 8th place. 7th place, 39 inches on the nose. The one and only Bobby Roast Beef. Scooby Steve Gonzalez, 40.5 inches. Andrew Tomer, 42 inches on the nose. Dan Griffin in 4th place at 45.5 inches. Now, these next two were tied in that 2nd place spot at 49 inches. So the way we break those ties traditionally is whomever has the bigger fish in their bag will take the higher position. So in 3rd place at 49 inches, we've got Nelson DaCosta. Nelson's biggest fish. What was his biggest fish? Was it 17 and a half? Yeah, 17 and a half was Nelson's biggest fish. In second place at 49 inches, Ryan the Butcher Bogley. His biggest was 17 and a quarter. He beat him by a quarter inch right there. And our winner was Jimmy Goes Fishing, James Murtha, at a total score of 50 and 1/2 inches. Nice job, Jimmy. So that's the best of 3 right there. Now let's take a look at Big Bass. Big Bass is a whole other thing. We only had 8 people enter fish. Some were like, this fish is too small, I'm not going to waste my time. When I go through some of these numbers, you'll see like, no, you should have put something in. 100%. So Miguel, he put in 8 inches, right? That sounds highly inappropriate, by the way. Sarah P put in 10 and a half. Joel put in 11 on the nose. Gravy, 11 and a quarter. Fourth place, Wild Bill, 11 and a half. The top 3 lunkers, 12 inches on the nose. Dan Griffin. Second place, 12.75. Just shy of 13, Ryan the Butcher Bogley. And your boy Bobby Roast Beef at 15 and 3/4 inches. Taking the dub. That's what I'm saying. You know, I mean, I wake up every morning just like anybody else, except I just piss excellence. You know, that's just the way it is. I'll tell you what, it was a lot of fun. It was crazy. I was a little bit, when I caught that big, I was like, that big. It was less than 16 inches. When I caught that one fish, I was like, no, I don't want to be the guy. Come on. This is the lake that I suggested. And like, there was minimal ball busting about it, but it was like, everybody knew what they were getting into. And I was like, I think that's what's going to make this interesting. And what's even crazier is that I was not hyped about fishing that area at all. But guess what? I adapted. We recorded the awards ceremony last night at the after party, which was awesome, by the way. We recorded the awards ceremony there, and when I was asked about how it was that I got such a monster in the boat, I straight up admitted that it was just luck, man. That's all my tactic was just to put as many fish in the boat as possible, and I'm pretty sure almost everybody caught fish, and I knew that was going to be the thing. I just didn't want anybody getting skunked. You know what I mean? So we had a good time. It was a lot of fun. We headed over to the base. Joe is not here today. He is not here today. And we're going to obviously like rehash some of this stuff when Joe's back on. But he is. So here's what happened with the party. I didn't realize that we had an end time. You know, didn't realize that we had an end time. By the time everybody got there and we had, something to eat and had some drinks and everything. Yeah, it was going on 6 o'clock already. And we only had the bar until 7. I didn't realize that. Nobody informed your boy about that. So unfortunately, I was like, you know what, guys, I don't think that we're really going to be able to do the show tonight. I don't think it's possible. And like, these are folks that are like, they listen to the show like, well, how long does it take? I'm like, dude, it takes as long as the show takes to make. I was like, I don't want to hold anybody up. So of course I said to Joe, I was like, we're screwed. I was like, just a heads up. I go, obviously, like, I'm not going to do it like remote, like wherever, like, I would be okay with doing it remote, but like it's just a mess. Everything was all set up. I had actually done like some streamlining of some notes so that we could do it in like a live setting. So that all that stuff got thrown out. And I told him, he was like, he's like, can we do tomorrow? And I was like, we can. I was like, before 5. I said, because I got to work. And he's like, oh, it's not going to work. I was like, all right, well, I'll put it together. So this is why I'm here alone this week with all of you guys. And we're putting some stuff together. It's going to be good. Joe's in the brig, Todd says. You know what? I didn't leave with them. I packed up my stuff and left afterwards. I think there was a group that was going to get ice cream. Again, I don't know how you put all these boat trailers in these tiny like ice cream places, but they made it work, I guess. And then some of them, I guess they went back to the Airbnb to just hang out and chill there. I hear, from what I understand, the Airbnb is getting a fucking insane review, and not like in a good way. I guess like the air conditioning situation, especially for the weather that they had there, was way underpowered. There was like one window air conditioner for the whole place. It was like pretty miserable, and like there was some video taken, and it was gross. Like there was some shit. I would have been pissed. I don't know what they spent, but I would have been pissed. So yeah, I guess like they were gonna hang out there and everything. So anyway, it was an amazing time. We had a great time. It was Cody's birthday. That kind of popped up. So Cody, happy birthday, Cody, man. It was awesome seeing you. Cody told me, he's like, do not be a stranger. We need to get you back down to Maryland soon. And I was like, yeah, 100%. Give me the weekend. So it's looking like we're going to set up a weekend sometime in September, potentially. My birthday's actually on a weekend. I have like no plans. If that weekend works, I have no problem taking some time from that and then going and do that, because it could be freaking amazing. Cody's a good dude. I love him to death. He's awesome. Just really good people. All the hoodlums are absolutely amazing. So to everybody who was at the party last night and everybody who is a hoodlum at heart that couldn't be there, you guys are the best. Totally appreciate you guys. And I'm not going to let this go to my head. I won't. I'm just going to get out there and keep chucking baits and catching fish and see what we can do and what we can put together. But man, it was a really good time. It was pretty fantastic. But let's go ahead. Let's shift gears a little bit. All right. We'll shift gears. We got all that stuff underway. Now let's talk a little bit about community.
And perhaps play a little game called Just a Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys, this week on Just the Tip, I want to talk about something that really, really kind of hit me and hit home this weekend. And it has absolutely nothing to do with a lure. It has absolutely nothing to do with electronics. And thankfully, it does not require you to buy a damn thing. How often can we say that in fishing? You know what I mean? And I want you to think about the anglers that you spend time around, your circle, your community. Maybe it's your tournament buddies. Maybe it's a guy that you bump into every time you're at the ramp or the boat or the bait shop. Maybe it's an old timer who's been fishing the same lake his entire life and just has invested all this time into it. Or maybe it's the kid that you keep bumping into that watches entirely too much YouTube. The kayak guy, the swim bait guy, the dude that's got $12,000 worth of electronics on his boat,
Joseph.
and the guy that's fishing on a 12-foot aluminum boat with a milk crate full of tackle. Every single one of those dudes, they're people that know something that you don't. 100%. I guarantee it. They know something you don't. You know? I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make as anglers is forgetting the value in that. You know, the better that we get at fishing, it's very easy, and it becomes easier, rather, to start believing that we've got certain things pretty well figured out. You know, we develop our favorite techniques. We definitely have like favorite spots, you know, those spots that like always produce. We have our own little systems in place. We eventually, or I should say, and eventually somebody shows up and does something that's entirely different and it kicks our ass. And that right there is, in a nutshell, is fishing. Sometimes that's just how it is. And if your first reaction is to like make excuses for why their approach worked, you're missing a really big opportunity. Ask questions. Hey, why did you throw that? Why did you position yourself there? Why did you, or what did you see that made you stop? Why that color? Why that retrieve? Because the moment you stop trying to prove that your way is the right way, you give yourself an opportunity to learn why somebody else's way or method worked. And that's something that I was reminded of this weekend. I spent a lot of time around anglers with entirely different backgrounds. Very obvious, it was like different boats, different techniques, different experience levels, different ideas about what fishing may even look like. And to be honest with you, when you zoom out a little bit and look, I think that's pretty damn cool. Because fishing knowledge isn't owned by the tournament guys. It's not owned by bass fishermen exclusively. It isn't owned by somebody that's got the newest electronics. And it sure as hell isn't owned by somebody with a podcast. Everybody brings something to the table. So here's your challenge this week. The next time you're around another angler, ask them one genuine question about something that they do differently than you do. Not to, try and tell them how you do it. Not so you can explain why your way is better, but just listen. And if you're listening to this right now, I've actually got another question for you. What's that one thing that another angler taught you that permanently changed the way that you fish? Jigheads, chime in the chat right here. What is that one thing that another angler had taught you that permanently changed the way that you fish? And for you guys listening at home, send us a message. Hit that hotline. Hit that hotline. 413-324-8519. Voicemail or text is awesome. We'd love to continue this conversation in the live well. Tell us who taught you and what they taught you, because I'd love to start sharing some of those ideas on the show. Maybe your lesson becomes somebody else's lesson. And maybe that's actually the bigger point, that the best anglers, they're not people who know everything. They're the people who never stop looking for something that's new to learn. Stay curious. Leave the ego at the ramp. And remember, every angler knows something that you don't. So Jigheads, chime in. Let me know what you think. I'm going to share with you real quick. There's one thing that I think that Sean had taught me that was something really interesting, and it has to do with a particular color. And I don't want to blow up his spot, but it really made me consider that fish are living organisms that are different from humans. Like, they have eyes and they see things, but they see things differently. And what Sean taught me about this thing, right, it had to do with a particular lure presentation, not a particular lure, anything in that color spectrum, but in a specific water color, it seems to just pop a little bit more than some others. And I remember thinking, like, beforehand, like, well, bass have eyes, and just making the assumption that we saw the same thing. And from that point forward, it changed everything, because now any water conditions, I consider, I can't think about this the way I might see this in the water. So, like, when I would look at a lure previously in the water, I'd be like, oh, it looks pretty good. And I guarantee you, we've all been there. And it might look very good. But at the end of the day, like, these bass, these fish in general, they see things very differently. Look at the conversation that we had last week with Kai. We got into walleye, specifically walleye, low light conditions, and stuff that really just kind of like sets them off and makes them just go unhinged. It's kind of crazy, So I don't know. It was very, very cool. I thought it was awesome. But definitely, Jigheads, chime in. We'll get your feedback in the live well a little bit later in the show. Or if you're listening to this show right now and you've got something you want to share with us, again, shoot us a DM. Definitely, the hotline's the best way to do it. Call or text us 413-324-8519. Definitely make sure to submit your information so we can continue this conversation, because nobody ever says you've learned it all. That's it. You got nothing else to learn. There's always something that you can learn, and community is a great, great spot to do so. All right. We are going to take a short break, guys. Do not go too far. We will see you with more Jigs and Bigs coming up right after this.
Now at Lowe's, faster quotes start at the Lowe's Pro Desk. Got a material list handwritten on a sticky note or saved as a photo? Perfect. Bring it to us and get a quote in minutes. And if you don't see what you need on the shelf, we'll help you get it. You can access thousands of products beyond what's available in-store or on Lowe's.com, right from the Lowe's Pro Desk. Build quotes faster and source the materials you need to keep your jobs moving. Just like that. at Lowe's.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in-minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
I get so many headaches every month.
It could be chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those who have 14 or fewer headache days a month. Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor. Visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Alrighty, guys. Bobby Roast Beef here, Jigs and Bigs. We got another guest in the beef seat this week. We're on a roll, and we're going to be on a roll as we continue through the rest of fishing season and through the winter, because this is when things get real busy. But I got a guest this week that I am so stoked to have on here. I got the one and only Matty McNeil, the Boston angler himself. And I got to tell you, Matt, like, dude, second round of applause for you on a job well done. I know it wasn't just you that was involved, but, like, I got to meet a number of other folks that were involved organizing this. But that swim bait farmers market was absolutely unbelievable. Well done, man. How was the feedback from everybody else?
The feedback's positive. Everybody's asking when we're doing it again. So
awesome.
I think we're going to try to make it a yearly event.
That's amazing, dude. Like, what a the perfect venue. Everything about Tackle Box was great. Like, the branding was just so good, and the beers were fantastic. That space they have is absolutely amazing for that. I was curious. I was like, I had never been out there. I'm like, this would be kind of interesting. And I'll tell you, I went fishing afterwards. I almost brought the boat because I was like, yeah, it looks like, I looked on Google Maps and I'm like, it looks like I'd probably park there. It is a good thing I didn't, because there would have been nowhere for me to put that sucker. When I left, I saw someone brought their tracker in after, like, that big first wave had come through. But dude, like, do you have any idea of, like, what the numbers were for attendance? Because it was, when I got there at, like, just after 12, it was packed.
So I can't say the amount of people that came through, but I do know that at 9 o'clock in the morning, the line was 30 deep.
That's insane. At
12 o'clock, before we opened the doors, the line wrapped around the building. The owner counted about 150 people waiting in line before we got there. So there was quite the turnout for the event. We drained the ATM of all the money.
Yep.
So all in all, the event itself was a huge success.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it was great too, because there were, like, all the vendors. I had a feeling, I was like, some of these guys are going to do Venmo and, do their own credit card processing and stuff. And that worked out really, really great. I feel like an absolute piece of shit though, Matt, because I had been walking around the entire day and going like, we're going to go through and do a pass of interviews and I got so wrapped up with talking to folks, and I was on a time crunch. I had to leave about 3:30 at the absolute latest. And I was like, hey, this looks amazing. I'm going to come over and buy this. I'm going to come over and buy this. I managed to get out with the time that I had. I was like, okay, so I think we probably talked to about 85 or 90% of the exhibitors. A handful of them weren't like manning the booths at the time when we were going through, or they were like so busy. They were like 3 or 4 deep. I had to go back and try and get to them. But we're going to get everybody on Jigs and Bigs one way or another, even folks that we've talked about. So when they appear in the video, we'll have like a full formal like sit down interview and really get into the deep stuff with them. But dude, you had a variety of, first off, you had huge names that were in here, but you had a variety of other vendors as well. Like Gremlin Jigs, I was really impressed with, like super impressed with their stuff. I'm probably going to order some jigs from them. Even just the molds or even just the jigs themselves. And I'll do my own custom skirts, but I was pretty impressed with their colors too. I might just save some time. Who's that guy that ran that JDM one? That jabroni AVF tag?
That guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Late entry. We call him late entry.
Late entry, yeah. No show Joe is what they call him around these parts.
Yeah.
It was his booth was awesome. He brought some serious fire as well. Got to talk with I think it's Casey from Fishy AF, which was awesome. I never ever had the opportunity to like just kind of talk shop with those guys, and like I love what they're doing. I think it's really freaking cool. And you know, it's crazy because like you see them at like the expo when they have, and there's a couple of like Piz didn't have their regular booth. It was just like really, this was like raw, like real punk rock basement show feel, you know. And I love that. I'm all here for it. But you didn't have like, you know, you didn't have Fishy AF with like their real fancy booth with like the furniture and stuff and everything. But then you just talk to these folks and they're all just folks. You know what I mean? They're all just fishy folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. I am stoked. By the way, your booth, I went over, you were actually the last one I went over to, and I was like, you want to go? And you're like, no, I don't want to be on camera. I said, okay, no problem. We'll talk. There's two things. I haven't seen your frog in person. I am amazed. And I also haven't seen your eel in person. And that is like striper candy for the Connecticut River.
Absolutely. That eel is, tried and true.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Bobby, that the frog was not mine. I had the honor of representing the guys from Lost for 40. They came out with the murder frog.
Mm-hmm.
What an unbelievable bait.
So unique.
I used it. Yes, absolutely. I use that. That's the only frog I use. But I had the honor of representing them. They sent out a bunch of colors, a show exclusive.
Yeah.
And they did great. The bait sold. It was great having them.
It was very, very cool. Got to talk with Trev from Peak as well. And a bunch of folks. The few items, there was one thing I did a first walkthrough just to kind of like take a look, that we recorded a bunch of stuff, and I went through, and one of the booths that really, really just shook me immediately was John's custom swim baits. I texted my wife immediately with the following. I said, skunk or chipmunk? And she goes, what? I was like, pick one. She goes, chipmunk, duh. I said, okay, cool. So I left with her very first custom-made wake bait, which is pretty badass.
Yep, there you go.
I picked up the drowning monk, and she's stoked. And at first I was like, am I even going to put the hooks on this for her? You want to fish with it, or is this something she wants to put like on her desk at work or something like that? Because that's the thing, you buy some of these baits, and like sometimes the reasons you're buying them is to like hold on to them because they're just amazing. You know, the collectability factor is crazy, all of it. You know, and she's like, no, put those hooks on. She's like, I want to try this out. I was like, okay, cool. Sounds good. So we put the hooks on. We're good to go. So John's booth. I was talking we had a really good conversation at the Hatch Match booth, and I picked up a couple of their plastic swim baits. The only green pumpkin 4-inch that he had, because I know for sure this thing is going to get munched. But that show special, the perch pattern, was just too good to let go. Like had to. And then I picked up something I've never seen before, which is this is from Gift Glides. I've never seen a lipless wake.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. Matt from Gift Glides, good friend of mine. I don't know how he does it. Phenomenal bait. All his baits are amazing. I can't say enough good things about Matt. His baits have come such a long way, and you're guaranteed to catch fish on that bait, Bobby.
Well, and it's funny. I didn't realize he was from Arkansas initially. We're having a conversation, and I'm actually planning a trip to Millwood in mid-February with my buddy. And he's like, oh, dude, he goes, if you get on him, you're going to catch some bigs. He's like, that place turns him out. I was like, that's good to know. But he also gave me some juice. He goes, if you have the time, now we're going to be down there for a week, so we've got the time. He's like, if you have the time, you want to change things up a little bit, I got a spot for you. It's about an hour or two away. And I'm like, all right, sounds good. And that's nothing. I mean, we're driving like days to get out there. I'm bringing the boat, so we're going to be there for a while. We've got plenty of time. So man, it was just absolutely unbelievable, dude. I'm sure that Tackle Box was impressed with the turnout, probably a little bit more maybe than they were expecting, but I'm sure they sold the hell out of their beer, which is great.
I had kind of warned them, like, listen, there's going to be kids lining up overnight. We're going to need a cop directing traffic. And they I don't think they believed me at first. I saw, when they came in to let us in to start setting up at 9, she was like, oh, there really was a line. I said, yeah, these kids have been here since, 4 a.m. waiting to get in. And she said, you're kidding. I said, yeah, a lot of them came right from the airport. I said, I was talking to guys from Wisconsin, Chicago, New Jersey. I said, they came from home to here. This is the sole purpose of their trip. And she was like, well, you weren't shitting us. I said, no, this is going to draw quite the crowd.
It was wild the way it all went down. In fact, it's funny you mentioned those guys from Wisconsin specifically, because as we were getting set up in like that entryway with the camera and mics and everything, got everything together, there was a couple of tables that were there that were kind of pushed together. And I was like, oh, they must just be adding another booth. And I thought these dudes were just there like setting up a booth like as people were walking in. And no, it was just a bunch of guys from Wisconsin that were going through all their gear and comparing their haul. I'm like, this is wild. And they're like, oh, yeah, we've been here since like 9 p.m. I was like, are you for real? This is insane. But like, that's the thing about this, specifically the big bait, the swim bait community. Like, it's a different slice from it really is its own little universe within the fishing community itself. And you get a ton of real passionate folks that share like some appreciation that with like conventional tackle and some other stuff you don't necessarily find. It's like it is a unique sort of community unto itself. Was there anything interesting that stuck out to you that you were just like, this was really cool, or any kind of highlights that maybe I missed?
Just the way the whole event went down, the turnout, the support. We had guys from, like you said, from coast to coast that turned out. Just the event as a whole. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how the whole thing just went down. It was an amazing day.
Yeah, it was so cool, man. It was unbelievable. I'm glad to hear you guys are doing it again. I think it's going to be like a real highlight, and the timing is pretty impressive, because one of the things that when Sean the Fisherman was co-hosting the show with me, we talked a lot about doing live events and stuff. And one of the things that he had in my mind was like, listen, he goes, our audience is 100% anglers. Are people going to come out to an event in the summer when they could be out fishing? Because like some of these folks, the only time they've got to go out is on the weekend. And I think you proved that, yeah, they will come out. And doing it at like noon until whenever was ideal, because let's be honest, in, August, that's the worst part of the day to be on the water. And there were plenty of watercraft that I saw, lots of kayaks and small like John boats and stuff like in the back of pickup trucks where I can almost guarantee some of these folks got off the water and came out, or they were going to go the other way around like I did and fish afterwards. Hopefully they had better results than I did.
That's exactly what it was. A lot of these guys came to the event and then were on the water. So some of the photos that we're getting on the Instagram pages of catch photos of guys that got the bait and then went out fishing. So just the timing of it was perfect.
Yeah, so unbelievably cool, man. Unbelievable. Yeah, it was really, really good. It was great to I was really excited to see that you guys had hobbyist fishing there with all of his crazy stuff. The Aros baits are amazing. And he's another booth where I was just like, man, I don't have enough time. I'll just have to order them online. But I did get to take a look at some juice from that table, so I feel pretty good about that. Lots of innovation too with some of the rats. Like I'm a sucker for a rat wake bait, and there was one booth, I'm forgetting the name. There was this couple, and they had these rats that were really kind of unique, multi-joint, like unbelievable. And they're from Massachusetts. I forget.
Oh yes, BB Fields.
That's what it is. I have them. I just haven't gotten that far in the footage yet to get all the notes together. But man, we're getting there. It's going to be. I think this video is going to be really fantastic. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, great.
And Dean did a fantastic job, like shooting a bunch of great looking B-roll and stuff of the displays and everything. And so I think this is going to turn out awesome, man. I'm stoked that it's working for you. What do you got on tap as far as Boston Anglers is concerned? Like, you got anything, any juice coming down the pipe?
I do, actually. Yeah, in about I'd say a week or two, we got a new dedicated craw jig trailer coming out.
Oh, okay.
It's our 4-inch craw that's been chopped, slimmed down, and modified specifically for fishing off a jig.
Nice.
And then we have a couple hard baits coming out. We're not talking about it just yet.
Yeah.
They're still in the early process, but keep your eye out. There will be some Boston Angler resin baits.
That's awesome.
And we're looking forward to planning another event for next year.
Dude, that's going to be so good. I think you got something that's really like you nailed it. There was somebody I was talking about that, talking with there, and they were saying how they organize like a Christmas event or something, or some kind of a regular event. And I think I even told them, I was like, we should do fishy trivia. It's like, how many people do you have? They're like, oh, it's pretty big. It's like a couple hundred. And I was like, we can make that happen. Everybody will play on their phones. It'll be great. So there could be some
Casey
amazing
from Fishy AF.
It is Casey that does it there. Okay.
Yes. Yep. And he does it at Tackle Box.
Yep.
The venue is just perfect. I mean, it's beer, it's fishing, it's all one location. It was like, it's almost a no-brainer. If you're going to do a fishing event, Tackle Box Brewing. That's
the spot, man. And they've got the space to be able to pull it off, and it's freaking absolutely badass. Dude, that is so cool. We got how's fishing been for you? You got any good stories? I know you've been busy. You've got a lot going on, but you've been getting out there catching them?
Yeah, I've been getting out. So we just had a newborn about 6 weeks ago. Yep. So I get out when I can.
Definitely.
It hasn't been bad. I'm going to be releasing some photos of some catches on the new bait I've been working on, so that'll be coming out soon. But I've been getting out there, changing diapers and getting out when I can.
That's how it is, dude. I'm telling you, man, it's a challenge. I remember when my kids were first born, I wasn't fishing back then, but I'm like, I don't know how I'd pull it off, making time to go out and everything, because it's like, dude, when folks that I know, when they're having kids, I was just like, man, that was so long ago for me. Like, and it is such a change up in your life, dude. Well, congrats, dude, on the new edition. That's absolutely awesome.
Thank you, Bobby.
Oh, man, unbelievable. Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. I probably am going to go over this in this podcast, but I think you'll get a kick out of it. So that night after I got home, right, I hit the water with my buddy. We went over to Oxbow on the Connecticut River out in my area. I don't know if you ever fished that area, but word of advice, if you're ever there on like a Saturday and, it's getting dark, it's a bad place to be. Primarily because of all the wreck boats and the lack of any etiquette that they've got in the boat launch. Oh, my God. It was just an absolute shit show. But the story is this. After we had left, we got back, and I was like, I took a skunk that day. My buddy put a dink in the boat and had a blow up on a frog that he missed. So we get back to my house, and I'm packing stuff up. I had all my gear in the boat, putting some stuff away. Dude, I tripped on the tongue of my trailer and went face down in the street. I can't believe it happened so fast. I can't believe I put my hands up. My face never hit the ground. I was like, if I would have smacked my face in the ground, I'd be missing a bunch of teeth. Like that's how hard I hit. I was on the water the next day. I was like, this is going to hurt so bad tomorrow. I was on the water the next day. It was just miraculous.
Not good. Good.
Getting old sucks, dude. I'm telling you, I'm knocking on the door at 50. It sucks.
Oh, I'm gonna be 45 this year, and I'm starting to feel it.
Oh, dude. Oh my God. Yeah. It's every year. It's like once you hit about 40, you start to notice some stuff, and you're like, I even said to a bunch of the guys, we're getting ready for Hoodlumfest, and I told them, I was like, this might be the last like fucking boneheaded injury that happens to me where it's not going to be a serious thing. I got to start being careful. But yeah, my buddy was in his car behind me. He didn't see me fall, but he heard me yell "fuck" at the top of my lungs. It was fucking ridiculous, man. You got anything specific you want to go over before we wrap up?
No, let me just throw out some thank yous if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. Floor is yours.
Absolute huge thank you to my co-coordinator Aaron Kushner. Without him, this whole thing couldn't have happened. Wow, there's just so many. Wayne and Will from Swim Bait Universe, Lendo from Elude, Aki from Bad News Bass, Paul from Piz. And everybody, Peak Bait, Sherpa, CB Fields, Casey from Fishy AF, all the guys that turned out, took the trip, got on a plane, drove for hours, the kids that waited in line, my sister who was grilling the sausage, and Tackle Box Brewing, they all made this thing possible. My heart goes out to all of you. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you guys again next year.
And that's the thing, man. All of that is all like what we celebrate at Jigs and Bigs. It's that fishing community. You know, folks come together. We have this one common interest. Generally, people in this community are amazing folks. And like when you've got folks that of a like mind working together on something, I think you got something really special here. And yeah, Aaron, I got to talk to him a little bit. What a great dude. I thought he was local.
No, yeah. Aaron too. He drove up from Maryland a couple days before. Aaron owns the company that makes the bratwurst that everybody was enjoying.
Oh, no kidding.
I met him 10 o'clock at night to get the sausage to bring to the chef to cook. So it's, just the whole thing came from, all corners of the country, which for everybody to come together just for a single day to pull that off, the stars aligned. It was just perfect.
That's awesome, man. I'm so stoked for you, dude. Joe and I, when we record this show, like it's kind of going to be cool because I got the opportunity to like have a little bit more time with each of the exhibitors than most folks did. And I think I'm pretty lucky for that. But Joe gets to talk about it from the exhibitor's standpoint because he was there. So this episode, I think, is going to be great. I think for the listeners to get a little bit of everything, they'll get to hear from you about it. I'm sure they're going to be stoked. And as soon as you've got a date for the next one, let me know so we can start pushing it. Like any kind of updates, like you've got an open invite to hit up the hotline, call us, text us with any kind of information. We'll do anything we can to get the word out.
Absolutely. So we're trying to work in conjunction with Swim Bait Universe because they do their gathering in Virginia. So if Swim Bait Universe is doing a gathering, we're going to hold off. We're going to wait and hear from those guys what they're doing. But you can guarantee that if there's not a gathering, there will be a farmer's market.
That's awesome, dude. That is so freaking cool. I love it, Matt. Well, hey, thanks so much for taking the time and Joe. I know you got your hands full. We'll let you get back to doing daddy duty and all that stuff and, pouring silicone and stuff and making things happen on your end. But dude, you got a good thing going all around. Community based, Boston anglers, everything. Just real quick, give a shout out if folks want to follow what you have going on, any Instagram or other social, handles that they should be following to keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. We're bostonanglers.com, boston.anglers on Instagram, and swimbait.fm. Sorry, swimbait_FM for the Swimbait Farmers Market.
Unbelievable, dude. Hey, thanks so much. We appreciate you, Matt. You have a good one, all right?
Awesome, Bobby. Thanks for having me on again.
All right, guys. Take care. We will see you next, right after this. More Jigs and Bigs goodness. Don't go too far. We'll see you guys.
Now at Lowe's, faster quotes start at the Lowe's Pro Desk. Got a material list handwritten on a sticky note or saved as a photo? Perfect. Bring it to us and get a quote in minutes. And if you don't see what you need on the shelf, we'll help you get it. You can access thousands of products beyond what's available in-store or on Lowe's.com, right from the Lowe's Pro Desk. Build quotes faster and source the materials you need to keep your jobs moving. Just like that, at Lowe's.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. and a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
I get so many headaches every month.
It could be chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those who have 14 or fewer headache days a month. Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor. Visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Jigs and Bigs, one more cast. Jigs and Bigs, let's go.
All right, guys, we are back. It was awesome to talk with Matt from Boston Anglers. I'll tell you what, I'm really excited that this is got the potential and legs to go to that next level and have this be a recurring event. I think that is awesome. The swim bait community is just built differently, and like it's not exclusive. I think that there's a lot of people that think like they're very welcoming and like it was unbelievably cool. A lot of the guests or a lot of the exhibitors that were there, we will be having on the podcast as guests. And we're going to start with a handful of them that we had mentioned in that segment with Matt. But we're also going to be reaching out with just the exhibitors that I thought had specifically like really cool products or something really innovative or specifically local to where we are. We're going to reach out and have all of them on. It's going to be really, really great. But there's another thing that I wanted to mention too, was from the Hoodlumfest party. So I mentioned Kevin Biohazard Bassin. He is the owner of Wolf Tree Custom Baits, and he makes all like wooden, like really nice, well-crafted wooden plugs. At the 300th episode, he gave out a bunch of poppers to folks, and they fish really, really well. They're nice. They're very, very, very nice. Some of these things I think are like more like works of art, to be perfectly honest. They're really, really good looking items. But he goes, I want to make something special for the jig heads or not for the jig heads, for the Hoodlumfest attendees and everything. So he goes, I want to give out. So he made a bunch of poppers and spooks, and he also made some custom stuff for like myself and for Joe and Andrew and Ken and Wild Bill, and then he made an extra special one for Cody because it's his birthday. So these were all butt plugs that have treble hooks on the back, and each of them was totally different, like hand carved, like really nice, like unbelievable, but in that shape. So yeah, they're kind of like wake baits, really is how they work. And I'm like, they're pretty freaking cool. Mine has a fancy dressed hook on it. I don't know if there was a message that was coming with that necessarily or not, but yeah, I'm here for it. It's fine. So that's cool. I also mentioned this, that he also had, Wolf Tree is putting in a prize for the raffle for the BCRF tournament. The BCRF tournament this year was amazing. It was a huge headache on our end to brand it as Hoodlumfest, because we just wanted to bring the inclusivity there so that if you weren't able to be there, you could enter this and be a part of it. But the nice thing about this tournament was you didn't even have to fish. You could win these prizes just by being registered. So you guys showed up. We tripled our regular, turnout for a slot, especially in August. August is a hard month to get people out on the slot. So you guys turned up. It was awesome. We might end up making this a regular thing where August and the shittiest, hottest months have really low buy-in with high return for raffles, because if you don't fish, you've at least got an opportunity, and we'll do it for charity. I think that might be the way that we do some of the worst months as far as the slot goes, because it's a lot to be out there for 8 hours. It's a lot. So it was great. Those results of who won, everything is still tentative right now, so we're going over that this week. We'll be doing the drawing, but I mention Wolf Tree because in his prize pack, he's got his first square bill, and it looks kind of awesome. I'm going to be honest with you. Now, that one is going to be an interesting one because I'm going to have to ship it, whoever wins it. There are a bunch of local folks, and if you're local, I'm going to hand deliver it. But if you're not, it's going to be the only prize I will have to ship. And it just happened to work out that he was at the ramp and dropped that to me beforehand, so it ended up working out. But very, very cool. Very, very cool. So big shout out and thanks again to Kevin from Biohazard Bassin, aka Wolf Tree Customs. Unbelievable. So with all that said, we have another segment that we need to get to right here. And this is one where we're talking about your boat, and especially your weird ass boat.
It's time to go broke on the boat. Joe and Bobby's Guide to Fishing Your Funds Away.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
So on this week's Broke on the Boat, I want to start with a sentence that I guarantee a whole bunch of our kayak angler contingency audience that's out there has 100% heard way too often. Let me paint the picture for you, okay? You pull into the gas station, okay? Your kayak's strapped into the bed of your truck, maybe on your trailer. You're getting gas, maybe a little energy drink, maybe a meat stick. On your boat, maybe you got some electronics going. Maybe you've got a trolling motor, a bunch of tackle storage, rod holders. You've probably spent an absolutely irresponsible amount of money on turning this piece of plastic into your perfect little fishing machine. And that's what it is. It's a fishing machine. And somebody looks at you dead in the face and says,
"Dude, with all the money you got into that thing, why don't you just buy a boat?"
And there it is. And I've always thought that was such a funny question, because you did buy a boat. You bought the boat that works for the way you fish. And I think that there's a bigger conversation hiding inside that stupid question, because anglers are constantly comparing equipment. I mean, you see this in other things too, like in my day job, right? In the world of event entertainment, disc jockeys, they're always comparing gear, computers, processing equipment, mixers, mics, you name it. But with anglers, you see this all the time where it's like kayak versus bass boat, aluminum versus fiberglass, deep V versus John boat, pedal drive versus a trolling motor, $20,000 used rig versus a brand new $140,000 bass boat. But we're usually asking the wrong questions. It's not which one is better. The question is, which one is better for you? Because every fishing platform is a compromise. That giant bass boat might run 70 miles an hour, might carry 30 or 40 rods, might have enough electronics to communicate with fucking Mars, let's be honest with you. But you're probably not dragging it through 6 inches of water into some forgotten backwater pond, if you could even get in there. Meanwhile, the kayak guy might be able to launch quite literally anywhere. No giant tow vehicle, minimal fuel, No traditional boat ramp required. No question if his boat would even work on that ramp. But he's also not making a 20-mile run across big water at 70 miles an hour. And here's the thing, dudes. Neither one of you is wrong. These are tools. They're designed around completely different priorities. And I think this is where Broke on the Boat has the potential to get interesting, because sometimes we spend money trying to build the fishing setup that we're supposed to want instead of building the setup that actually fits the fishing that we do. Maybe you don't need a bigger boat. Maybe you need a smaller one. Maybe you don't need a boat at all. Maybe the old aluminum rig you've already got is absolutely perfect because, number one, she's paid for. Reliable as fuck, and you can put it quite literally anywhere. And here's the best part about those old boats, especially the tin ones, you get a couple of dents, big deal. Or maybe you've just reached the point where upgrading genuinely does open up different opportunities that you currently don't have. And you know what? That's 100% okay too. This isn't about cheap versus expensive. This is about something that gets lost in the sauce all the time.
Value.
Yeah. Does the money you're spending make your fishing experience better? Because there's a massive difference between upgrading something because it solves a problem and then upgrading because somebody at the boat ramp made you feel like what you've already got isn't good enough. So I've got a few questions for you guys this week. And jigheads, feel free to chime in. I want to know what it is that you fish out of currently. And more importantly, what's the single best thing about that? In fact, here's another question. If somebody were to just like total your fishing rig right now, and let's say like the insurance company handed you a check, would you turn around and buy the exact same type of boat again? I'm not talking about like, would you, use the opportunity to upgrade the electronics a little bit or maybe, make a change here or there. We'll have that discussion later. But would you buy the same platform? That's what I'm really interested in, is the platform. And this, I think, is the biggest question. What's something that people assume that your boat can't do, but you know goddamn well it can? Kayak guys especially, I want to hear you on this one. Send us a message or hit the hotline. 413-324-8519. Call, text. It's all good. Because I'd love to hear people defend the weird, the cheap, the super bougie, the tiny, enormous, homemade, overbuilt fishing contraptions, because that's what they are, that get us on the water. And ultimately, the best boat isn't the most expensive one at the ramp. It's not necessarily the fastest, and it's not necessarily the newest. And it's definitely not the one that some dude on Facebook tells you that you gotta get. The best boat is the one that lets you fish the way you want to fish. And if you're doing that, you've already got the right boat. Maybe you don't need to go broke on the boat. Who knows? We got Mark B chimes in right here. Mark says, he goes, I have a Wilderness Systems kayak with a trolling motor on the back. He says, it's old, but it gets me into the shallows that boats can't. I've caught so many big bass tucked into less than a foot of water. And dude, Mark, that is awesome, man. That's exactly what I'm looking for right there. Now, let me ask you this, Mark. I would be willing to bet that when you're out there and you've been fishing in a day like the last couple days we've had where it's like high 90s, humid as shit, you feel like you're swimming around in atmospheric soup, I'm willing to bet that motor, if nothing else, makes your life easier at the end of the day when you want to get back in. Because I'm sure you are paddling around to position. I'm sure of it. It's just the way that it works. But at the end of the day, like, it's a good one. Now, I'd also, Mark, if let's imagine for a moment that like something catastrophic happened to your rig and you got handed a check for essentially that value, like to replace it. Would you stay on that same platform or would you change it? We got a handful of other jig heads in here too. If you guys want to chime in, I'm more than welcome to have this conversation. I will tell you, like, when it comes to my boat and even my kayak, I did the same thing with my kayak. I was like, how do I like to fish? I like to be prepared. I like to be able to have all the stuff. And I know some folks that are just like, oh, I just go out with a bag and I have this. Nope. I want to be prepared, man. I want to be able to bring out the spectrum of rods that I bring out and be able to do the stuff that I need to do and know that I've got the baits that I need, know that I've got the creature comforts I may want while I'm out there. I will tell you what, if I were to start kayak fishing heavily again, one thing I would absolutely put on my kayak that I never did before is a cooler, a small fabric cooler with ice packs on it. And I would keep cold water in there and drinks, because it's one of the things that I have really fallen in love with, the idea of having ice cold refreshment while I'm on the water doing my thing, you know? And Mark chimes in right here. He goes, I buy a flux jet. Dude, that's the most honest shit I've ever fucking heard of in my life right there, Mark. That is awesome. And you know what? The thing is like, you're talking about getting into inches of water and stuff. Like, a jet would be amazing for that. You know what I mean? It's set up exactly for that. You know, it's funny because they do kind of like, they're not, I don't know necessarily that, like, they're outfitted for fishing. They're ideal for being out on the water and fishing and doing what we're doing. But I know that there are people who are looking at these purely from a recreational standpoint, you know, and awesome. Have fun. Go for it. But like, when I bought my boat, my big thing was it was there for the content. I didn't need a deck, I didn't need the deck that a bass boat would allow me. I just needed a casting deck enough to be able to get the job done. Now, is there a perfect boat? Yeah, I would upsize quite a bit. I'd go Pro V. You know, I'd 100% go Pro V. And it wouldn't be the biggest one. I think it would be like the 21 is what I've looked at before. It's a little bit more room. It can handle bigger water. More horsepower is nice. But again, for like the vast majority of the fishing that I do, I love my boat because it's so nimble. A lot of people look at my boat and they're just like, oh, you can't get that everywhere. Horseshit. I have put this boat into some of the most shallow water. I would be like, this I would fish. I wouldn't be able to get my kayak in there with the pedal drive. You know what I mean? Because the skeg sticks down so far. You know what I mean? I can get this boat. I won't go fast in shallow water because that's when you run into shit. You know, you're more likely to be like, oh shit, there's a rock, there's a stump, there's something like that. But I can absolutely fish in shallow water. And my trolling motor, like, that shaft is adjustable. So, like, I can put it so it's right at the surface of the water and is making a shit ton of noise, but I can still get around, you know? It definitely does the job. Todd actually just had an upgrade right here. And he chimes in, he goes, new canoe U10 with an NK 180. Being a light platform to maneuver out of the water is key for me. Yes, I'd go with the same setup if wrecked. And, I mean, especially, like, when it's a brand new rig like that, for sure. I've seen the 110. I've demoed the 110 for other people. Explaining some of the benefits. That is a stupid universal platform. It is unbelievable. But like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like as anglers, a lot of people, like, we get in that same trap that like everybody in humanity does. You're like, oh yeah, well, so-and-so bought a truck. Like,
oh, he bought a fucking Dodge. I hope he likes burning oil, Jesus Christ.
Or like, you know, it's like Wild Bill's like,
oh, you got a wicked fancy Jeep.
Says the guy in the Mercedes. You know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff that, you know, it's like everybody's got commentary all the time, and it's just something that people do. Sometimes it's for humor or whatever, but it's I thought about that whole line,
why didn't you buy a boat?
And you hear it all the time in the kayak world. And it's like, I understand that maybe the person saying that doesn't understand that if you buy a fully rigged kayak and you drop 15 or 20 grand to build that in a boat form, you're going to spend substantially more, substantially more. You could buy used, you could buy this, you could buy that, but it will be substantially more. I would say at least double, at least, generally, if you're not buying a piece of garbage, And like what your boat is your boat. Mark says, I can put my trolling motor on a first setting facing upriver. It's a poor man's spot lock. Dude, yeah, it gets the job done. Although I will tell you, Mark, are you using a Minn Kota trolling motor, Mark? Or what type of trolling motor are you using? Because 2 years ago, I fell in love with this website called trollingmotorparts.com. And my trolling motor is a Minn Kota Power Drive. This model is not really, it's very, very simple. It's got the pedal, which is just set up odd. And I replaced the head on my trolling motor, and it opened up a world of other potential uses. It actually opened up the ability to use the remote, which allows me to use the trolling motor and direct where I'm going when I'm looking at like my graph at the console, which is awesome because I've got downscan and stuff on there, so I can kind of get a better look and like tool around a little bit more fine detail type thing. But also that gave me spot lock, changing out that head. So, Todd says, my opinion since putting a motor on, game changer. Foot steer is, yeah, I could see foot steer being fantastic. New Canoe foot steer. Yeah, I'm not familiar with theirs necessarily. I don't know, man. Like, there's a million ways that you can rig them, and it's like that's why they call them rigs, because you got to make them your own. It's the same thing as like when I got my 4Runner and I was looking to like overland and go out and camp and stuff, and everybody was just like,
you got to get a rooftop tent. You're not even a Toyota owner if you don't have a rooftop tent.
And I'm like, my fat ass is not climbing on my roof to sleep up there. And if like I have to drive away, now we got more work to do. So I'd rather just be able to take the off and go, So it's like everybody's rig is like, we put it together, Mark says the same thing. He says, I love my foot steer too. That's badass. I'm stoked for you guys. That's awesome. But yeah, that's the thing. Like when somebody like opens their mouth, like just, I genuinely try to say like, take it with a grain of salt, because odds are
they're a moron.
Odds are. It is what it is, guys. Hey, we are going to take a short break, but we're going to come right back around. We got a double FTG this week. We got, let's see, we also have a couple calls on the live well, and we got a few jig heads in here. They might chime in, and actually from our Just the Tip segment, we have John Hagens had put some info in. We're gonna do a call back and talk about some of the stuff from Just the Tip as well. So don't go too far. We got more Jigs and Bigs goodness coming up right after this. Trust me, you guys, you do not want to miss out.
Now at Lowe's, faster quotes start at the Lowe's Pro Desk. Got a material list handwritten on a sticky note or saved as a photo? Perfect. Bring it to us and get a quote in minutes. And if you don't see what you need on the shelf, we'll help you get it. You can access thousands of products beyond what's available in-store or on Lowe's.com, right from the Lowe's Pro Desk. Build quotes faster and source the materials you need to keep your jobs moving. Just like that, at Lowe's.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card, Shave Ice by the beach, a trip to the state fair, and a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast instead of doom scrolling? Smart move. Another smart move? Getting help from one of State Farm's 19,000 local agents when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
I get so many headaches every month.
It could be chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those who have 14 or fewer headache days a month. Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor. Visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
There's something that I've been thinking about lately as somebody who both fishes occasional tournaments and then periodically finds himself on the other side of them as a tournament director or even just the periodic judge position. And it comes down to something that nobody really gets particularly excited about: the rule book. Nobody signs up for a fishing tournament because they can't wait to read 3 pages about identifiers, submission deadlines, measuring fish, or what happens when something goes wrong. We just want to fish. And especially when an event is supposed to be fun, there's this temptation to say, come on, guys, we don't need all that. We're all adults. It's just fishing. And believe me, I completely understand that. But I have come to realize something over the past few years, that rules aren't really there because we don't trust anglers. Rules are there so that when something unexpected happens, we don't have to guess what's fair. Because here's the reality. Not every single angler comes into a tournament with the same experience. Some anglers have only fished, traditional like live well style tournaments their entire lives. Throw a live fish into the bucket and then, weigh them at the end of the day. Biggest bag wins. Nice and simple. Others primarily fish catch, photo, release tournaments more routinely. And some, have exclusively competed online on multiple tournament platforms. For somebody else, though, it might be their first time submitting a fish with a photograph and a measuring board and an identifier and nobody right there that they can communicate with to get some answers from if they have questions. They're just arriving all at the same time, all those different people with different expectations. And that's exactly why clearly defined rules matter so much, because eventually something weird is bound to happen. A photograph isn't going to be quite right. Somebody's identifier goes missing, or some marker gets smudged or something like that. Technology doesn't necessarily cooperate in some instances. Somebody misunderstands a deadline. Weather's going to change, and that could cause like a safety concern, and a judgment call might need to be made. Something happens that nobody thought would happen, and then suddenly the tournament director has to make a call on their own. Now, here's where things really get interesting. You can make the most reasonable judgment call in the world. Genuinely make that call. But if there wasn't a clearly established rule beforehand, you could have 2 reasonably headed, reasonable people that could look at the exact same situation and arrive at entirely different definitions of what fair is. And that's where the frustration starts. And I think that there's responsibility on all sides. If you're running the event, make the expectations really clear as you can. Don't assume that everybody knows and everybody can connect the dots. Don't assume everybody's competed in that type of format before. And don't leave something unwritten because you just assume everybody already understands what you meant. And if you're competing,
read the damn rules.
Seriously, even if you've fished 100 tournaments, because you're agreeing to compete under this tournament's rules, not the rules from the last one you fished. And here's probably my biggest thing. A good rule book doesn't prevent people from having fun. If anything, it protects the fun. It lets the tournament director stop being a referee making decisions based on gut feelings in the moment. It lets the anglers know exactly where the boundaries are. And when something inevitably goes sideways, and believe me, it's bound to happen, everybody already knows how it's going to be handled. And that's not called bureaucracy. That's called consistency. And consistency builds trust. So the next time you sign up for a tournament and somebody hands you a wall of rules, or you're, signing in online and somebody shows you a document of pages and pages of rules, maybe don't immediately roll your eyes. There's probably a story behind every single section in that rule book. And if you're the person that's organizing an event, write the rules you hope that you're never going to need. Because eventually, you're going to need one of them. I'm Bobby Roast Beef, and that's a thought from the editor's desk.
Now at Lowe's, faster quotes start at the Lowe's Pro Desk. Got a material list handwritten on a sticky note or saved as a photo? Perfect. Bring it to us and get a quote in minutes. And if you don't see what you need on the shelf, we'll help you get it. You can access thousands of products beyond what's available in-store or on Lowes.com, right from the Lowe's Pro Desk. Build quotes faster and source the materials you need to keep your jobs moving. Just like that, at Lowe's.
This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Shave ice by the beach. A trip to the state fair. And a throwback flick at the local drive-in. They're more than just items to check off the summer bucket list. They're also opportunities to earn 2% daily cash back when you use your Apple Card with Apple Pay. Apply for Apple Card now and use in minutes with Apple Pay. Subject to credit approval. Apple Card is issued by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Terms and more at applecard.com.
Tomorrow morning is knocking. Stock your fridge now. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or a sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
I get so many headaches every month.
It could be chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those who have 14 or fewer headache days a month. Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor. Visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Hear that? That's now Crispy and McCrispy Strips meeting Creamy Caesar Sauce. Sounds extra crispy. Caesar Sauce at McDonald's, for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
You know the guy. Everybody knows the guy. FTJ, yeah, we're calling you out. FTJ, that's what this segment's about. From the pleasure boat to your own damn crew, if you act like trash, this song's about you. Jigs and Biggs Hotline. Tell us what happened.
Alrighty, guys, here we are. Wrapping up the show with we'll call this the social segment. That's kind of what we're doing here. So this is our FTG segment. We get calls from our listeners, from our jig heads over at the hotline. Calls and texts, 413-324-8519 is the number. Throw that number in your phone. Trust me, you're going to want to, if you're into this show, you're going to want to have that at hand so that you can reach out at any time. But we got our first call coming out of New Jersey this week, and this one's interesting.
What's up? I got an FTG for you this week. This is RJ, a.k.a. Tier 10 Taco from Jersey, and this FTG goes out to the Bandit. Fuck that guy for outfishing me on my own boat. You just don't do that, bro.
I thought that is awesome, dude. I should actually send that audio file to Paul because that's what went down. What was it? After the swim bait farmer's market, was he outfished the shit out of me on my boat that day? Although he's due, I guess that's okay. But how do you guys feel about that? Is that like a whole thing? You know, is that something that gets your goat? You know, when you're out there, hit up the hotline. Let us know. I personally, it kind of depends on who I'm with. It kind of does, you know. If it's my wife or my dad or my kids or Paul, I guess it doesn't. I hope you guys outfish me. I really do. I kind of do. I guess now that I think about it, most of the people I fish with, you know, that's how it is. Now, this next call is from a caller you don't hear from too often in this capacity, but this is interesting.
Yeah, hi. This is Bobby Roastbeef, and I'd like to call in an STG on the state of Massachusetts. And the reason is, let's set up a little backstory. As some of you guys might have heard, my wife and I went to go out and fish earlier this week, and we got to a lake that looked like it was just going to be very promising. Had some really good intel from a friend that we could probably do pretty well over there. So we get there and we get the boat launched and everything's great. And for whatever reason, my wife decides to start scrolling and look up some information about that lake just to kind of get familiar, which I'm proud of her for doing. I think that's great. But she discovered that no less than 20 hours previously, there was an issue ordered to close the lake because of a toxic algae bloom. The name of whatever the spore was or anything, I don't have the cognitive abilities to even be able to pronounce, but I do know that the lake was closed. We looked at each other and thought it was kind of odd because, you know, we didn't see any signs. Well, here's the thing. When we got back, because as luck would have it, I forgot the remote for my trolling motor, so we had to go back to the launch anyway and run to the truck to grab that. We took a look over, and the sign was on the back of a sign right where I had parked. And what's even crazier is that as we were getting the boat ready to launch, there was a state official truck right there with an employee walking around, you know, doing their thing. And I'm willing to bet that it was probably the same official that put the signs up. And they said nothing at all. Unbelievable. On top of that, as if that weren't enough, there was also a rope that could have gone across to block the ramp, indicating it was closed, like with a reflective, like, coating or something on it. That was wide open. Just none of this makes sense. So anyway, fuck you, Massachusetts. Thanks very much. And fuck you.
I recorded that Wednesday night outside of the bar where I do trivia, and I did that intentionally. I was like, I couldn't believe the sign placement, and I couldn't believe that they didn't just put the rope up to block the ramp. There were two trucks there. I don't know. It was just so confusing. I was like, Massachusetts, do better.
Do better, Massachusetts.
I have no idea. I didn't even look into the situation, but I'm like, yeah, they closed it. I'm like, we're just gonna play games. I don't want to leave with like fucking cancer or some shit like that because the water is fucking, you know, toxic. Soylent Green is people, whatever. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive into the live well. We got ourselves a couple of good calls and then something to go through on the as far as comments from our jig heads.
Hi there. Welcome to the Live Well, where we crack open a ramp beer and attempt to answer all of your burning questions. You knew damn well that this day was going to happen, where we were going to have only 2 calls in the live well, and they were both going to be Eli. So let's dive into this first one. Eli, what do you got for us?
Hey, it's Eli with Push for the Live Well. Question this week is, Dark Horse has come out with a new urchin on their website with a new hook to rig it. It's kind of just like, honestly, a regular, almost looking like a worm hook, just without the fin to the top. But then it's got the weight in the middle. So my question this week is, what urchin rigging system have you seen that you think is really good, you're excited to try, looks really good? And then what kind of DIY shrink wrap, adding different weights, stuff like that style, have you seen that also you think really good? And then is there any other ones that you think, like, that's just terrible? Like, maybe it's DIY, or maybe it is one that somebody came out with and you just don't think it's great. Just kind of a deep down on that. Yeah, boys.
So it's interesting because I realized that I have been fishing those urchin baits and koikis and stuff absolutely wrong from the beginning. I have been fishing them primarily as like I would a Senko. You know, I've been targeting like docks and things like that, and I've been throwing them on a. So what I've been doing is I've just been taking like a weedless wacky hook, and I've been putting like a big one right through the bait. And I put the bait up like so it's up further on the shank of the hook so that the bend of the hook is almost fully exposed. And then what I do is in the backside of that urchin, I'll put a like a nail weight. You know, like usually like a 16th ounce or something like that. And I'll pop that in there. And I have really had lackluster results with urchins. Now, I will say I have had a lot of people tell me that the way to rig them is on a, or the way to fish them is like you would fish a jerkbait. You know, twitches. And that makes a lot more sense to me. I'm going to actually give them a little bit more of a whirl and see how that goes and play around a little bit there. I've seen some of like the DIY rigs using like frog hooks with the two hooks coming out. I've seen I do like the treble. I think that's, I don't see how you could go wrong with that. But again, like, you use a treble, you put the plastic on one of the trebles, and then you've got two hooks on the other side of the plastic. I see the benefit. Wild Bill recently had put on his YouTube, and I'm going to try to Google it and see if I can, you know, find out what the scoop is, what it is. But he had done a video where there's a product, a specific piece of equipment that you can rig on with these urchins, and it works fairly well. Like it's basically a weight that has a gap in it where you can run the hook through and hold your how's the way I'm trying to word this. You can hold your hook on to the weight, so when it gets bit, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't tear out is the idea. I gotta look this up and what it is, but he had put a video up about it. I want to say like a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's the is this bait all hype? I don't want to watch a video, Bill, but let's see what he's got. So unless you've been, his description for this video says, unless you've been living under a rock, you've seen this bait, the koiki, the dice bait, fuzzy balls, prickly pear, whatever you call it. Had to grab one and put it to the test and give it an honest review. I grabbed First Blood Anomaly from Fish or Die. Start the discussion of how he rigs. Okay, so he doesn't give any actual good information about like what the rig is. So that's great. Thanks, man. But there are other options. Seems to be no shortage. Todd from Michigan says, he goes, I've tried it with frog hooks. Haven't had any luck with it, but I can't say I've given it a fair amount of time on the water. Todd, how are you fishing it? Are you fishing it like you would like a weightless soft plastic, like a wacky rig or something? Because that's what I've been doing. I haven't been loving it. I've heard from some people like you got to twitch it, and that seems to be the thing. Like fish it like a jerkbait is what I've heard. I don't know, man, because I think I've been missing a lot of opportunity if that's the situation. So I'm going to get my hands on some. I was looking at some anomalies specifically last night at the Hoodlumfest party. I should have just picked them up from Joe. They look pretty good, but I do want to figure out what I'm going to throw them on. Like I've got no shortage. I've got no shortage of hooks and weights. as far as terminal to put something interesting together on my own. But I'd love to get that information from Bill. I'd text him right now, but I know it's going to take him a year to get back to me. He says he's taking apart an air conditioner today or some shit like that. What do I even know? Let's dive into this other call from Eli, though. This is an interesting one. This caught my attention immediately.
Hey, it's Eli with Question for the Live Well. I really need to make a thing where I mark off if I fall in, because I have no idea if I have. So this is probably the second one, because I probably did it early in the week. But no, now that you've had some time to explore Bass AI, just curious, what is your favorite feature of it? Yeah, I'm just curious on your thoughts. Let's see what's...
I haven't used Bass Fishing AI much. I demoed it initially. It didn't really strike me. It's just not my thing. So I don't really have any kind of comments or anything like that regarding Bass Fishing AI. I initially, when I saw this come in, because I got the transcription, I thought he was asking about like the use of AI and like the podcast and everything like that. But I was wrong. Yeah, no, I really haven't looked into it. It doesn't really interest me a whole lot. I think like some of the stuff is cool. I think that the Dark Horse like the coordination between Dark Horse is cool. How like you can search some baits and they'll pop up links for those baits available on Dark Horse, which is super cool. I think that the game is all right. I thought I think it would be kind of cool if it was interactive, like more than just like your own. Like there was no, again, like. Well, you guys are going to hear it in this episode. I do an editorial about rules and standards. So, like, you'll hear, ironically, in here. So, I think it's kind of a cool tool, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I also don't know, like, where the information is or anything like that. And, it's just not my thing. But, yeah, good stuff. We do have a couple of comments that came in from John Hagens about the community and other anglers knowing more than you. And he chimes in with this. He goes, an old timer taught me to eliminate light at night and to tread lightly on the bank. I fish in pure darkness most of the time. Large flatheads are spooked easily by unnatural light and loud commotion. And vibration from the bank. They feed close to shoreline. See, I didn't realize that they feed close to the shore. That's interesting. But I could definitely see where that's a thing. Like I have, it's so crazy too, because that's one of those things that it is important what the species of fish is, because there's a lot of misconception usually with like younger kids, like, oh, you have to be real quiet. You don't want to spook the fish. You talk too much. That doesn't really affect the fish as much as, or at least bass, as much as like your dad might have told you when you were younger. You know what I mean? A lot of it is the stuff that John's talking about there. It's the lower frequency stuff. So like when you're on a boat, if you jump down from the casting deck into the cockpit area, or you're grabbing something out of your storage and your doors are like mine, where they're just very simple doors with hinges, and like you let them go and they're going to slam. Like stuff like that is going to be heard under the water way further than you realize. And it's the same thing like when you're in a kayak and you're like maneuvering like a net and it hits your boat, or you drop a rod, something along those lines. You drop something in the bottom of your boat like a pair of pliers. That sound goes really far because it's that lower frequency range that just travels pretty unbelievable. Todd Sefton chimes in, getting back to the koi keys and everything and the urchins. He says, I've thrown it by docks, letting it sink, then light jerks. I think I need more weight because it comes to the surface too easily. He goes, I've had a few strikes, but no hookups yet. See, that's exactly what I've been doing. And usually I say I've been fishing it like weightless. No, I usually fish it with like a 16th ounce nail weight. I think I need to fish it with more like an 1/8, maybe even 3/16 in some situations, depending on the depth and where I want it to go. So, John chimes in. He goes, a catfish's body is literally a sensory organ. They feel vibration and even have taste sensors the whole length of their body. That is so gross. I can't imagine what life is like there. Could you imagine that being your situation, John, and you're in a river and one of the municipalities that's along that river has like a sewage overflow? I'm sorry. Gross. Why did I have to take it there? I got real problems, guys. That's going to do it for this week's Jigs and Friggin' Bigs. We have a little editorial piece that will be buried somewhere in this show. You guys will be able to check that out. And as always, we appreciate you guys more than you know. Absolutely. All your information can be found on jigsandbigs.com. We have all kinds of stuff lined up for the future. There is good news regarding the build on the old implication. We're moving closer and closer and closer to an electronics upgrade. And it might actually be even going a little bit further than initially planned. But I'm hoping to have some really good content for you guys with that. I'm also planning on dropping a video of the swim bait farmers market. And there's all kinds of great stuff coming down the pipe for you guys. We appreciate you so much. I want to take a look at this comment from Mark. I saw this just pop in. Mark chimes in. He goes, I talked to a campground manager, and he was telling me when the river has flow, the bass are staged in more predictable areas. When the water's slow, they start to roam. Are we talking largemouth? Because that absolutely checks out. I mean, smallmouth to some extent as well, but smallmouth tend to like current a little bit more, but I could definitely see that when it's not as strong of current, they're a little bit more like out there, and when the current's pushing, they're a little bit more predictable. You're gonna look for like that slack water. That's where you'll probably find them. Good stuff. I love it. So yeah. Don't forget your community, man. The community is wiser than you realize. And there is another side of this conversation that we'll have another time. Sometimes the community's feeding you absolute bullshit. But the reality of it is there's a nugget that can be found in most folks that you're going to bump into in the fishing community. So learn a little bit from them. Appreciate you guys so much. We will see you next week with more Jigs and Bigs goodness. Have yourselves a good one. Remember to be following us on all the social media platforms. And if you like this show, do us a solid and give us a rating or review over at the podcast platform of your choice and share it with a friend. You know, you got a fishing buddy that has no idea what the hell Jigs and Bigs is about. Share it with them. We absolutely appreciate it. Apparently, episode 334 hit a nerve because you guys have been sharing that bitch like nuts. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you guys with more Jigs and Bigs goodness in 7 days, like we always say.
Tits and ass, smoke some grass. One last cast. To the stories we told, every bite, every miss, every moment on hold. You showed up, tuned in, stayed through it all. Now we're reeling it back as the night starts to fall. Every download, every share, you kept this thing alive out there. This is one last cast before you go. If you felt this vibe, let the whole world know. Hit that follow, leave the ring, help us grow this thing we create. Links below, yeah, we got your back. Save some cash on the gear you stack. Every click keeps the lights on bright, keeps us talking fish every single night. You save a buck, we build this show. That's how this whole damn thing can grow. This is one last cast before you go. If you felt this vibe, let the whole world know. Hit that follow, leave that rate, help us grow this thing we create.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending. Zero tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.